got to take off my jacket. I won't. It'll look like I don't have a body. Okay, there we go. Better. Parents, welcome. Good to have you. I hurt my hand. You guys know about this. Some of you do. I hurt my hand wrestling with the dog or something. Welcome to Parenting with DBT. Today we're going to be talking about the how skill, especially being effective, and what that looks like from a parent's point of view. Some very brief review. In DBT, especially parenting with DBT, from a parent's perspective, we want to be in wise mind when we're doing our parenting as much as we can. We save a lot of time. We're very effective. We get a lot done when we're in wise mind. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we're distracted, or we're emotional, or we're not aware enough of other people's emotions to where we're either in reason mind or emotion mind. So we start off by how to get to wise mind, and we've talked about the what skill. We've talked about observing, we've talked about describing, we've talked about participating. And in our last couple of videos, we've talked about being non-judgmental and what that means, and we've talked about being doing one thing at a time or one mindfully. And today I want to talk about being effective. Just so you know, I do have a book down here on my lap. I have the Linehan Manual for Adults. I think that Marsha Linehan does an excellent job discussing the how skill, seeing that she invented it. So I want to talk a little bit about what it means to be effective. I'll start a preamble. Usually when I'm teaching a parenting with DBT class, I usually ask parents, how many of you have placed emphasis in the past on being correct or being right and feel like sometimes you stick to your principles and this can create unnecessary or painful hardship within your family? And usually, the hands go up. So this is where being effective really comes in. Being effective in DBT has a lot to do with our goals and our objectives. So the purpose of effectiveness is that we want to be skillful and we want to behave in a way that's going to bring us closer to our goals or is going to help us achieve what we need to achieve. So some key bullet points I want to talk about here, because I'm looking at the book on this one because there's some good stuff. Acting effectively is doing what works to achieve our goals. Without the skill to use effective means, it is difficult to reach our goals, reduce suffering, or increase our happiness. This means that very often we will set goals as parents. We'll set goals as human beings. And we can become very discouraged because we're never accomplishing those goals. And very often it's because we run into these walls, we run into these hang-ups, and it's just very difficult for us to achieve some goals and some objectives because we don't have the skill necessary to be able to make that happen. So being skillful, and a part of that skill is being effective. So being effective is knowing how to achieve goals. It's important in order to act effectively, we have to know the goal. We have to know what we're trying to achieve. In any conversation with our adolescent, for example, we have to know what we want to accomplish with this adolescent. Do we just want to listen? Do we want to validate them? Are we asking them to do a chore? Do we want to have a conversation where we get to know them more? It's important to be aware of this in our head when we're having our interactions. When it comes to being effective, we want to do what works. For example, I can tell my son with all of his friends over that his room is unclean, and that he needs to clean it. And he might get really upset and he might argue. Or he might playfully say a few jokes that he wouldn't normally say if his friends weren't over. And I can get really mad at him about disrespect, about him disrespecting me as his elder. I'm not sure if I'm acting as effectively as I could act, though. Maybe being more effective is what would work. How have I gotten my son to clean his room in the past? Well, usually his friends aren't around. Usually I'm a little bit more soft-spoken and we're having more of a conversation. We almost never are in his room itself. It's usually when we're having a conversation. I'm starting to think that maybe a conversation in the front yard over a nice glass of water might be an effective way to get him to clean his room, not in front of his friends while he's doing something else with them. That's kind of an example of being effective, and we want to know how to do that, how to be effective. Um, Marsha Linehan goes and she actually writes to play by the rules when necessary. Sometimes we have to do things that we don't necessarily think that we should have to do. But in order to achieve our goals, we do them anyway. For example, I want peace and harmony in my family. I really don't like going to little kids' birthday parties. However, I recognize that in the end, I want peace and harmony in my family with my spouse and with my children. Therefore, I'm going to be looking for like a bag of Doritos at that kid's birthday party. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm there. Yeah. We want to be, so Linehan also writes, be savvy about people. You want to be savvy about people. It's important sometimes to be political, to give and take, to be willing to walk the middle path, to try to see things from their point of view, be a little diplomatic. I think that that's necessary. I think it's needed. We want to understand that whatever goal we're currently going for, they're probably going for something too. And if we can do trades and if we can make things work for certain people, all the better. Finally, we can sacrifice a principle every once in a while to achieve our goal. Not all the time, but sometimes we have to. For example, I believe in hard work and going the extra mile. Sometimes one of my children doesn't. And when my child is doing their homework, for example, I have ways that I think they should do their homework. I think they should sit at a table. I think they should not have a lot of distractions. I think their phone should be off. I think they should be completely immersed in their work and studying. And sometimes we achieve that. Most of the time we don't. However, the end goal is that my children are going to school, turning in assignments, and that they are engaging in society and their group, and they seem to be on their way to being some kind of a citizen. And they are actually doing that. When I go to the parent-teacher conferences, apparently right now at this moment, they're doing all right, even though they don't sit at their table with their phones off, completely immersed in their studies. Maybe I just expect too much from a third grader. I don't know. Anyway, this concludes being effective. Remember, being effective is about doing what works. Let's get away from being right. We can sacrifice a principle every now and then, but not always. We need to be savvy about people. We need to remember that politics and playing the game matters. Follow the rules sometimes. Break the rules sometimes. Not the law, but the rules. And that's it. That's effectiveness. Best of luck to you. Good luck this week. Happy parenting. This is Parenting with DBT. Thank you.